students, and welcome back to our English class. In today's class, we're going to be dealing with this very interesting chapter on the state of Uttarakhand in India, and we're going to be looking at why the state is so famous, and not just the beauty of the place, but the religious significance of this place. Okay. But yes, before we move on to that, I just want to show you a few pictures of Uttarakhand, and I want you to have like a visual or a virtual tour to Uttarakhand. Just look at these pictures and just look at how beautiful Uttarakhand really is. Just the blue colors of the sky, the greenery here, so so nice and green, so bright. The snow-capped mountains, the clean water here, the valleys, and just look at this. This is all Uttarakhand, and it's so naturally beautiful. Look at the snow right here. We have the snow as well as the sun, the different colors of the sky, and yes, these are the ravines. These are the temples that are situated there in that particular state. But yes, this is one of my favorite pictures. Just look at this picture. It's just, I wish I could go here, but it's just naturally so beautiful, this place, and it's no surprise that this author has written about it. This is another nice picture that we have here. But yes, you'll see that a lot of hills, a lot of trees, a lot of snow, a lot of mountains, and a lot of clear water is what defines this place and makes it so unique, and I hope you all can go to Uttarakhand once all of this gets over. Just look at this. This is like a, you can save this as your screensaver or something like that, because it's so beautiful. This is just the natural beauty of the place. But yes, now let's move on to the chapter. Let's see what this author has to say about Uttarakhand. Okay, so we have here, high up above the world in the extreme north of Uttar Pradesh, the clouds swirl down to touch the Himalayas, matting them with affectionate layers of fresh snow. So we have the Himalayan mountains there, and we have the clouds that smatter, or that just kind of lightly throw down snow on the mountains. So fresh snow that falls on the Himalayan mountains. That is the kind of a visual that we have here. Over the years, the snow has accumulated into thick layers, so it has been collected into thick layers. And this place, where the mountains, where there's so much of snow, this place is Uttarakhand, and Uttarakhand is regarded as the abode. Abode is the home, okay, of sages and seers, munis and mahamunis, rishis and maharishis. This is Tapobhumi, the land of meditation and penance, and the birthplace of two of our most sacred rivers, the Yamuna and the Ganga. Okay, so I've just shown you pictures of what the place is like, and you will clearly, feel so much of peace just looking at those pictures, because it is so beautiful, naturally beautiful. Okay, so no wonder that this place is a home of sages and seers. So people who are not religiously, rather spiritually inclined, they find peace in this place. All these sages, all these pegambars that we'll call munis, mahamunis, rishis, maharishis, all of them, these wise old men, they go to Uttarakhand and they live there because it is so peaceful. They can just focus on the spiritual self so much more in a place like that. It is just so beautiful and so peaceful. Okay, this place is also called Tapobhumi. And what is Tapobhumi? It's a land for meditation and penance. Okay, so it's so peaceful around there that people go there for meditation and for penance. They want to make up for some wrongs that they may have done. So it's like a nice retreat from the external world that we are also accustomed to. Okay. And besides all of that, besides the natural beauty of the place and everything, it is also the birthplace of two of our most sacred rivers, that is Yamuna and Ganga. Okay, so that is what adds to the spiritual significance of the place, that these two sacred rivers, which are respected so much in our country, they start here in Uttarakhand. Okay. Now, the Yamuna and the Ganga hurtle down steep canyons and deep ravines, cross the plains, unite at Allahabad to become the mighty Ganga, which finds solace in the ocean, in the oceans. Okay, so we are talking about Yamuna and Ganga, two rivers that originate here in Uttarakhand, and they go down steep canyons and deep ravines. Now, I'll just show you a picture of a ravine. I think you would have seen it in the earlier pictures that I showed you. Ravine is basically like this. It's something like this, but this is much. It's a closer view of a ravine, and canyons are also something similar. Okay, so I do not know which river this is. It could be either one of it or it could be a separate one. But yes, this is through the mountains you will have a small river that's flowing, and that would be a ravine or a canyon. And Uttarakhand has a lot of these, okay, canyons as well as ravines. And that itself is so beautiful. But imagine there are more than one in that one state. Okay. So yes, so the river, they hurtle down through these kind of canyons and deep ravines, and they cross the plains of flat land, and they unite at Allahabad. Now, I don't have a picture right now, but there is a very nice picture on the internet where they show how the Yamuna and the Ganga unite in Allahabad. Allahabad is in a different state. It is in UP. It's not in Uttarakhand. But these two rivers, which originate in Uttarakhand, they unite there, and it is said that it is very clearly visible because the colors of these two rivers become very different. So you can clearly see that two different rivers are uniting in Allahabad. To become the mighty Ganga, which finds solace in the ocean. So then it becomes the Ganga, and the Ganga finally flows into the Bay of Bengal. That is the ocean that we are referring to. Okay. Then we are talking about the Ganga here. We have, in its long journey, the Ganga drains 9,75,900 square kilometers of land, roughly a fourth of the country. Okay, so the Ganga it flows through at least 1/4 of the country. So it is a huge river, and it imparts fertility and prosperity to 300 million people, making the Gangetic Plain one of the most fertile and densely populated regions in the world. So the river is so sacred, but it's not just about it being sacred, it's also about the fact that the Gangetic Plain, because of the Ganga River, is one of the most fertile and one of the most densely populated regions in the world. It's not just India, it's all over the world. Okay, because of the river, the flat plains, the flat area around it becomes fertile, and because it is fertile, you can grow stuff there, and because you can grow stuff there, people will begin to live there. Okay, so the river is sacred for much more reasons. It is the reason for so many people's livelihood. They can sustain themselves because of the river and because it imparts fertility, okay, to the plains around. All right, so that is the Ganga, and so it says that the Ganga is so huge, it flows roughly through 1/4 part of the country. Okay, but the beauty of it is that it originates in Uttarakhand. That is why we are talking about it here. Apart from their sanctity, Yamunotri and Gangotri are enchanting places and attract innumerable tourists. Okay, now sanctity is the holiness. In India, both these rivers are considered holy or sacred. So besides that part, Yamunotri and Gangotri. Now Yamunotri is that area or that part in Uttarakhand where the river Yamuna starts. That is Yamunotri. Same with Gangotri. That area in Uttarakhand where the river Ganga starts is called Gangotri. So these two starting points are enchanting places and attract innumerable tourists. So it's beautiful, and I don't need to tell you how beautiful it really is, because you've already looked at those pictures that I've shown you, and you know that that place is just, it's very different from the rest of the country. It's just so beautiful. Okay, to have an idea of the location of these places, place your right palm on the map of Uttarakhand, encompassing the portion of Uttar Pradesh from Haridwar to the Himalayas. We can skip this because I don't really have a map, but I will show you another map, to show you the important places here. But let's quickly read this part. So let your thumb point towards Delhi. The 4 outstretched fingers will in this order point towards Yamunotri, Gangotri, Kedarnath and Badrinath, the 4 dhams. or 4 sacred pilgrimages. Now, Uttarakhand, it's known for its natural beauty, Rishikesh and all these other places, but more importantly, it is famous for the Char Dhams. And I'll show you a map of it so that we can see how close they are and how they are all in Uttarakhand. I think it is, yes. Yes, this is a map of Uttarakhand. You'll see Uttarakhand is here in the state of India. And we have the Char Dhams, that is Yamunotri, Gangotri, Kedarnath, which is here, and Badrinath. These are the four, or the famous Char Dhams, which is why all the more, Indians especially are attracted to this place. Okay, they are sacred places. So people go on pilgrimages to these 4 places mainly in Uttarakhand. Again, you can see them on the map. They're quite close to each other. Okay, let's move on. Now, we are told the region becomes intensely cold in winter and the heavy snowfall renders the area inaccessible. Okay, so during the winter, it becomes extremely cold, and you can just imagine it. You've seen the snow-capped mountains, you've seen how it's like all snow. So you can imagine that this place will be extremely, extremely cold. So people that are not used to the snow, and it's a hilly area, again, it kind of makes it even colder. So the intense snowfall in that area, it becomes impossible to stay there and impossible to travel to that place. So it's not a very good time to visit Uttarakhand during the winter season. Though these places can be visited between April and October, the roads are dangerous and slippery during the monsoon. So April and October, between these months, is usually your monsoon season. So again, because it's a hilly area and everything, it is a little dangerous with the rains to be taking those roads. Okay, so the best time for a visit is May to June, and again September to October. Okay, so when there is no snowfall or rainfall, that time it is safer because it's a hilly area and they don't really have well-developed roads in some places, not all places but some places. So the safest time and the best time when you can enjoy the weather and enjoy the ride and safely go to that place is May to June or September to October, which is this time of the year. We are in October right now, so if things were better, maybe we could have gone there, but it's not the case. Okay, so this author tells us that much. We'll move on. Now, few things here. He's talking about his time when he had gone to that place. He says, we left Dehradun early in the morning and stopped by for breakfast at Mussoorie. From Mussoorie, the picturesque road heads north to Yamuna Bridge, then to Barkot, where one road branches to Gangotri. Okay, so if we look at yes, I think I'll have to look at the map again. So he says, we left from Dehradun in the morning and stopped for breakfast at Mussoorie. Yes, from Dehradun he is going to Mussoorie and then he is going somewhere this side. Okay, and going back to the yes. Yeah, from Mussoorie, the picturesque road heads north to Yamuna Bridge. Let me see if I can get a picture of Yamuna Bridge. No, I don't have a picture of it. So let's go back. Then to Barkot. So there is a road that goes to Yamuna Bridge and then to Barkot, where one road branches to Gangotri. So if he's going to Yamuna Bridge, one thing we can definitely see from here, if he's going to the Yamuna Bridge, he has to go this side somewhere. Okay, and we are told that there is another road that branches to Gangotri, so it could be this place somewhere, or maybe somewhere basically on this road, because he's going from Mussoorie. Okay, from Mussoorie he could be going either this side or to Gangotri, but this is the area. Okay, going back then. Yes, it says heads north to Yamuna Bridge, then to Barkot, where one road branches to Gangotri. So from Barkot, he can either choose to go further and go to Yamunotri, or he can take another road that goes to Gangotri. Okay, the road winds along the Yamuna River, through luxurious dense green vegetation to Hanuman Chatti, the end of the motorable road. Okay, so if he continues to go from Barkot, if he continues to move forward, he will reach this place that is called Hanuman Chatti, and I have a picture of Hanuman Chatti so that you can see. This is Hanuman Chatti, and this is a temple basically, and this is the end of the motorable road. So you have to stop here and then maybe carry on some other mode of transportation. And here he's basically going to Yamunotri. Okay. Yes, the end of the motorable road. You can't take your vehicles anymore. The remaining journey has to be undertaken on foot or pony. So this place is very important because here you will park your cars and your bikes, and from here on you will either take a pony or you will travel by foot. If you are trying to go to Yamunotri, okay, the Yamuna river is already there in the background. This is your way to go to Yamunotri. Okay, now I will stop here because I don't want to start with Yamunotri or Gangotri till next class, because there's a lot that we need to look at, because these are two important places and two important parts of this chapter. So I will continue in tomorrow's class, but right now we just have a very brief sort of an introduction to Uttarakhand and what this author is really going to be doing. Okay, so we will stop right here. Thank you very much.